Right now, there's a version of you that doesn't exist yet. They're stronger, wiser, more at peace. They've overcome the exact thing you're struggling with today. They wake up with purpose. They move through their day with intention. They've made peace with their past, and they're excited about their future. And the strangest part? They're not living in some distant future. They're not waiting for perfect circumstances. They're waiting in the decisions you haven't made yet. Today, I want to talk about something that keeps me up at night, something I think about constantly, and something I believe is at the heart of almost every struggle we face as human beings. I want to talk about the gap, the space between who you are right now and who you're capable of becoming. And more importantly, why most people never cross it, why most people live their entire lives on one side of that gap, looking across, wondering what if, but never taking the step. Because here's the thing, and I need you to really hear this. The gap isn't the problem. The gap is supposed to be there. The gap is natural. Every single person who's ever lived has faced a gap between their current reality and their potential. Every single one. The question isn't whether the gap exists. The question is, what are you going to do about it? So let's dive in. And I'm warning you right now, this isn't going to be comfortable. But if you stick with me, if you really engage with what we're going to explore together, something might shift for you today. Ready? Let's go. The comfort paradox. Here's what nobody tells you about comfort. It's the most dangerous place to live. Not because comfort is bad. It's not. We all need comfort. We all deserve rest. But because comfort disguises itself as contentment. And there's a massive difference between the two. Contentment is peace. Contentment is gratitude. Contentment is looking at your life and feeling genuinely satisfied with who you are and what you're building. But comfort is different. Comfort is the absence of challenge. Comfort is the path of least resistance. Comfort is choosing the familiar over the meaningful, the easy over the important, the safe over the real. Think about your day today. Actually, stop and think about it. You woke up. What time? Same time as always, probably. You went through your morning routine. The same routine you've done for months, maybe years. You had the same thoughts you had yesterday. Maybe you complained about the same things. Maybe you scrolled through the same apps, looking at the same content, feeling the same vague dissatisfaction. And here's the thing. It's not terrible. That's the trap. That's what makes comfort so insidious. It's not bad enough to force change. It's not painful enough to create urgency. It's just fine. Mediocre. Acceptable. You're surviving. You're getting by. You're comfortable. But are you alive? Really alive? Or are you just going through the motions? Waiting for someday. Waiting for things to get better. Waiting for permission to start living the life you actually want. The ancient Stoics, philosophers from 2,000 years ago who were obsessed with how to live a good life, they had a concept they called amor fati, love of fate. The idea that you should not just accept your fate, but love it, embrace it fully. But here's what's crucial. Before you could love your fate, you had to be honest about whether you were actually living your fate or just existing in someone else's script for your life. Your parents' expectations, society's definition of success, your fears' limitations. That's not fate. That's not your authentic path. That's just comfort dressed up as destiny. Now, I want to talk about the 3 lies we tell ourselves to justify staying comfortable. And I'm calling them lies not to be harsh, but because that's what they are. They're not truths. They're not reality. They're stories we've told ourselves so many times that we've started to believe them.
Lie number 1. I'll start when? I'll start when I have more money. I'll start when I have more time. I'll start when the kids are older. I'll start when I get that promotion. I'll start when things calm down at work. I'll start when I lose the weight. I'll start when I feel more confident. I'll start when I'm more prepared. Does this sound familiar? Because I've told myself these exact things. We all have. But here's the brutal truth. Things never calm down. Life doesn't get easier. You don't suddenly wake up one day with unlimited time and unlimited confidence and perfect circumstances. That day never comes. Life is happening right now, today. This moment, and every day you wait for perfect conditions is a day you're choosing to stay exactly where you are. The circumstances you're waiting for, they're on the other side of starting, not before it. You don't get confident and then take action. You take action and confidence follows. You don't wait until you have time. You make time for what matters. You don't wait for permission from the universe. You give yourself permission. Line number 2, I'm just not that type of person. I'm not disciplined. I'm not creative. I'm not brave. I'm not a morning person. I'm not good with people. I'm not smart enough. I'm not talented enough. I'm just not that type of person. Listen to me carefully. These aren't truths about you. These are stories. Stories you've been telling yourself for so long that they've calcified into identity. They've become who you think you are. But identity isn't fixed. You're not a statue carved in stone. You're not a finished product. You're a process. You're always becoming, always evolving, always capable of change. Think about who you were 5 years ago. Are you the same person? Of course not. You've changed. Your beliefs have changed. Your habits have changed. Your understanding of the world has changed. You've already transformed. You just did it unconsciously. The question is, what if you did it consciously? What if you deliberately chose who you're becoming? What if I'm not that type of person became I'm not that type of person yet? That one word, yet, it changes everything. It transforms a fixed statement into a growth trajectory. It opens a door that you thought was locked. Line number 3, it's too late. Too late to change careers. Too late to get in shape. Too late to learn that skill. Too late to start that business. Too late to fix that relationship. Too late to become who you wanted to be. Let me tell you some stories. Colonel Sanders was 62 years old when he franchised KFC. He was broke, living off Social Security, and his restaurant had just been bypassed by a new highway. He could have said, it's too late. Instead, he spent 2 years driving around the country, sleeping in his car, getting rejected by over 1,000 restaurants before someone said yes. Today, there are over 25,000 KFC restaurants worldwide. Vera Wang entered the fashion industry at 40 after being a figure skater and journalist. Julia Child published her first cookbook at 50. Stan Lee created his first hit comic at 39. Ray Kroc bought McDonald's at 52. Laura Ingalls Wilder published her first Little House book at 65. These aren't exceptions. These aren't flukes. These are people who refuse to believe the lie that it was too late. Your life isn't over. Not even close. You're just standing at a door you're afraid to open. On the other side of that door is a version of your life that excites you. But you have to turn the handle. The real cost of waiting. But let's get really honest here. Let's talk about what waiting actually costs you. Not in some abstract future sense where you'll have regrets when you're 80. I'm talking about what it's costing you right now. Today. Every day you don't take that step toward who you want to become, you're making a choice. You're choosing the person you are over the person you could be. And that choice compounds. Not dramatically, that's not how it works. It doesn't compound in some obvious way where you wake up one day and suddenly realize you've wasted your life. No, it compounds quietly, slowly, like interest on a debt you don't notice until years have passed and you look at the total and wonder how it got so big. It compounds in the little moments. The moment you don't speak up in that meeting and you feel yourself shrink a little bit inside. The moment you choose the couch over the gym and you feel your self-respect slip a fraction. The moment you bite your tongue instead of saying the truth and you feel yourself become a little less authentic, a little less you. These moments seem small, insignificant, but they add up, and over months and years, they become your life. They become your identity. They become who you are. You know that feeling of regret? I think most of us know it intimately. It's that heavy, gnawing sensation that sits in your chest. And here's what I've learned about regret. It's usually not about the things we tried and failed at. When we try something and fail, there's actually something satisfying about that. At least we know. At least we gave it a shot. At least we didn't wonder, what if? Now, the deepest regrets, the ones that really haunt us, are about the things we never tried at all. The entrepreneur who died in you at 25 because you chose the safe job. The artist who suffocated under the weight of being realistic. The relationship you never pursued because you were afraid of rejection. The adventure you never took because you were scared. The version of you that believed more, risked more, lived more, but that you buried because it felt safer to play small. That's the real cost of waiting. Not failure, not embarrassment, not difficulty. The cost is the death of possibility.
The cost is living a smaller life than you're capable of. The cost is lying to yourself that this is as good as it gets when you know there's more available to you. Here's something crucial I want you to understand. There are two types of pain in life. There's the pain of discipline, and there's the pain of regret. The pain of discipline is showing up when you don't feel like it. It's doing the work when it's hard. It's choosing the difficult right thing over the easy wrong thing. It's saying no to immediate gratification for the sake of long-term growth. It's uncomfortable. It's challenging. Sometimes it sucks. But here's the thing about the pain of discipline. It's temporary, and it leads somewhere. It's the pain of a muscle being built, the pain of growth, the pain of becoming. The pain of regret is different. It's the pain of knowing you could have been more, but you chose comfort. It's the pain of watching others live the life you wanted, but were too afraid to pursue. It's the pain of realizing that time has passed and you're still in the same place, still making the same excuses, still waiting for someday. And the pain of regret, it doesn't go away. It accumulates. It intensifies. It becomes the background noise of your life, a constant reminder of the gap between who you are and who you could have been. So you're going to experience pain either way. The question is, which pain do you choose? The pain that leads to growth or the pain that leads to regret? Most people, if they're honest, will choose the pain of discipline once they truly understand this choice. But the tragedy is that most people never clearly see the choice. They just drift. They just let life happen to them. They just stay comfortable until one day they wake up and realize that comfort was the most expensive thing they ever bought. Understanding what the wise understood. Let me take you on a journey through history, because here's what's fascinating. The greatest thinkers across different times, different cultures, different philosophical traditions, they all pointed at the same essential truth from different angles. The Stoics in ancient Rome, the existentialists in 20th century Europe, the Buddhist philosophers in ancient India, the transcendentalists in 19th century America, they all arrived at the same core insight. You are responsible for the meaning of your life. Not the universe, not your circumstances, not your past, not your parents, not society. You. This is simultaneously the most terrifying and the most liberating truth you'll ever encounter. Let me tell you about Viktor Frankl. He was an Austrian psychiatrist who was imprisoned in Nazi concentration camps during World War II. Auschwitz, some of the worst conditions human beings have ever endured. He lost his parents, his brother, and his wife in the camps. He was stripped of everything: his possessions, his identity, his dignity, his freedom. And in that place, in the absolute nadir of human experience, he made a discovery that would change his life and eventually influence millions of people. He discovered that even in the worst circumstances imaginable, even when every external freedom has been taken from you, there's one freedom that can never be taken: the freedom to choose your attitude toward what happens to you. He watched as some prisoners gave up, and others found meaning even in that hell. Some found meaning in helping their fellow prisoners. Others found meaning in the hope of seeing loved ones again. Others found meaning in bearing witness to what was happening so the world would know. And Frankl realized, between stimulus and response,
there is a space. And in that space lies our power, the power to choose our response. And in that choice lies our growth and our freedom. If he could find meaning in a concentration camp, if he could exercise that fundamental human freedom in those circumstances, what's your excuse? What's mine? I don't mean that to be harsh or dismissive of your struggles. Your struggles are real. Your pain is valid. But what Frankl's life teaches us is that nothing in your past, nothing in your present circumstances has the final word on who you become. You have the final word. You get to choose.
Now, let's bring this down from the philosophical clouds and make it practical. Because philosophy without application is just intellectual entertainment. Aristotle, one of the greatest philosophers who ever lived, said something profound. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Let that sink in for a moment. Read that again in your mind. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. What does this mean? It means you are not your intentions. You are not your dreams. You are not your potential. You are your actions. Specifically, you are your repeated actions, your habits. The person you want to become, that stronger, wiser, more confident version of you we talked about at the beginning, they're not built in a single moment of inspiration. They're not created by one big decision. They're built one small decision at a time, one habit at a time, one day at a time. And here's the beautiful part that nobody tells you. You don't have to make all the decisions today. You don't have to have your entire life figured out. You don't have to make some massive transformation overnight. You just have to make the next decision. Wake up 15 minutes earlier tomorrow? That's one decision. Go for a 10-minute walk instead of scrolling on your phone. That's one decision. Read 10 pages of a book instead of watching another episode. That's one decision. Say the thing you've been afraid to say. One decision. Do the workout even though you don't feel like it. One decision. These aren't grand gestures, they're not dramatic, they're not going to make anyone applaud, but they are the material of transformation. They are the bricks that build the bridge across the gap. And here's what happens. Every time you make one of these decisions, especially when you don't feel like it, you're not just accomplishing that task, you're doing something much more important. You're proving to yourself that you're the type of person who keeps their commitments. You're building trust with yourself. You're shaping your identity. James Clear, in his book Atomic Habits, talks about identity-based habits. He says that every action you take is a vote for the type of person you want to become. Go to the gym and you cast a vote for, I am someone who takes care of their body. Write a page and you cast a vote for, I am a writer. Speak up in that meeting and you cast a vote for, I am someone who values their voice. You might not win every vote. You might skip the gym tomorrow. You might not write the page. But the question is, what are you voting for most of the time? Because that's who you're becoming.
Now I want to introduce you to one of the most important concepts in modern psychology. It comes from Carol Dweck, a Stanford psychologist who spent decades studying human achievement. She discovered that people generally operate from one of two mindsets, a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. And which mindset you have fundamentally determines how you experience life. People with a fixed mindset believe that abilities are static. You're either smart or you're not. You're either talented or you're not. You're either good at something or you're not. And this belief shapes everything about how they approach challenges. If you have a fixed mindset, challenges are threats. Why? Because they might reveal that you're not as capable as you thought. Failure is devastating because it's not just about what you did, it's about who you are. It's proof that you're not good enough. So you avoid challenges. You play it safe. You stick to what you know you're already good at. People with a growth mindset believe something different. They believe abilities can be developed. They believe that intelligence, talent, skill, these things can be grown through effort and learning. And this belief changes everything. If you have a growth mindset, challenges become opportunities. They're chances to learn, to grow, to develop new capabilities. Failure is not a statement about your identity. It's information. It's feedback. It's showing you what you need to work on. Effort is not a sign that you're not naturally talented enough. It's the path to mastery. Here's the question you need to ask yourself, and be really honest. Which mindset are you operating from? When you face a challenge, what's your first thought? Is it, I can't do this? Or, I can't do this yet? When you fail at something, what do you tell yourself? I'm not good enough? Or, I need to try a different approach? When you see someone else succeeding, what do you feel? Threatened and envious? Or inspired and curious about what they did that you could learn from? Because if you believe you're fixed, you'll spend your life protecting yourself from anything that might reveal your limitations. You'll stay small. You'll stay safe. You'll stay comfortable. But if you believe you're capable of growth, every single day becomes an experiment. What could I try today? What could I learn? How could I improve by 1%? Just 1% better than yesterday. That's all. And here's the math that'll blow your mind. If you improve by just 1% every day for a year, you won't be 365% better. You'll be 37 times better. That's the power of compound growth. That's the power of choosing the growth mindset. Let me introduce you to another philosopher, Friedrich Nietzsche. Now, Nietzsche is complicated, and he said a lot of things that are controversial. But he said one thing that I think is profoundly important. Become who you are. It sounds paradoxical, right? How do you become who you already are? But stay with me, because this is deep. Nietzsche's point is that you have an authentic nature. You have genuine desires. You have real values. You have unique potential. But you've buried it. You've covered it with layers and layers of other people's expectations. Your parents wanted you to be safe, so they taught you to be cautious. Society wanted you to conform, so it taught you to fit in. Your peers wanted you to be like them, so they pressured you to stay small. Your fears wanted to protect you, so they convinced you to avoid risk. And layer by layer, year by year, you moved further away from who you actually are. You created a self that's acceptable, that's safe, that doesn't rock the boat, but it's not authentic. It's not really you. Becoming who you are means peeling back those layers. It means the courage to disappoint people who expect you to stay the same. It means risking the known for the possible. It means asking yourself hard questions. What do I actually want? Not what do I think I should want. What do I actually value? Not what was I told to value. Who am I when no one's watching? When there are no expectations? When I'm just me? And yes, this is scary. This might be the scariest thing you ever do. Because when you start to become who you really are, some people won't like it. They'll be confused, they'll be threatened, they'll try to pull you back to who you used to be because that version was more comfortable for them. But you know what's scarier than disappointing others? Disappointing yourself. Lying on your deathbed knowing you never really lived. You survived. You played it safe. You were comfortable. You made everyone else happy. But you never really lived. You never became who you were capable of becoming. Nietzsche also said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how," meaning
If you have a strong enough reason, a compelling enough purpose, you can endure almost any difficulty. So let me ask you, what's your why? Why do you want to close the gap? Why do you want to become the better version of yourself? Not a surface-level answer. Dig deeper. What would becoming that person give you? How would it change your life? How would it change how you feel about yourself? Because when the going gets tough, and it will get tough, your why is what will carry you through. Your why is what will get you out of bed on the days you don't feel like it. Your why is what will help you make the hard choice when comfort is calling.
Okay, we've talked about the problem. We've explored the philosophy. Now let's get practical. Because all the philosophy in the world doesn't mean anything if you don't apply it. So where do you start? Here's the honest answer. You start with awareness. You cannot change what you're not aware of. You can't transform a pattern you don't see. You can't overcome a limitation you don't acknowledge. So start paying attention, really paying attention to yourself, to your patterns, to your choices. What are the patterns in your life? What situations do you keep finding yourself in? What do you keep complaining about but not changing? What are you tolerating that you shouldn't? What are you avoiding that you know you need to face? Start a journal. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be eloquent. Just honest, brutally honest. Write, today I noticed I chose comfort over growth when? And fill in the blank. Every day. Watch the patterns emerge. Write, the story I tell myself is, and then write the limiting belief. The story I tell myself is that I'm not disciplined. Now, challenge it. Evidence that this might not be completely true. Find exceptions. Find times you were disciplined, because I guarantee you the absolute story you tell yourself is not absolutely true. This is awareness, and awareness is always the first step. Now let me give you a framework. 5 pillars that support real, lasting transformation. These aren't optional. You need all 5. Who is the person you want to become? And I don't want a vague answer like better, or successful, or happy. I want specific. What do they do daily? What's their morning routine? How do they treat people? How do they talk to themselves? What do they value? What do they say no to? What do they prioritize? What do they believe about themselves? Write it down. Be as specific as possible. Because here's what happens. When you have a clear vision, your brain starts to notice opportunities to become that person. It's called the reticular activating system. When you program your brain with a clear target, it starts to filter the world for ways to hit that target. If your vision is vague, your actions will be vague. If your vision is clear, your actions become clear. So get clear. Who is the future you? Write a letter from them to your current self. What would they tell you? What would they thank you for starting today? This is hard. This is where most people stop, because radical responsibility means stop blaming. Stop blaming your past. Stop blaming your parents. Stop blaming your circumstances. Stop blaming your genetics. Stop blaming the economy. Stop blaming other people. Yes, all of those things shaped you. Yes, some of you have had incredibly difficult circumstances. Yes, life has been unfair. I'm not dismissing that. Your pain is real. Your struggles are valid.
But here's the thing. None of it controls your next decision. That's on you. And that's your power. When you blame, you give your power away. You make yourself a victim of circumstances. When you take responsibility, you take your power back. You make yourself the author of your life. Radical responsibility says, given where I am right now, given my circumstances exactly as they are, what can I do today to move toward who I want to become. Not what should have happened, not what wasn't fair, not what you wish was different. What can you actually do today with what you have? That's where your power lives, in the gap between what happens to you and how you respond to it. Motivation is great. I love motivation. That's why you're watching this video. But motivation fades. Motivation is like taking a hot shower. It feels amazing, but the effects wear off pretty quickly. Discipline is what carries you. Discipline is doing it when you don't feel like it. Discipline is showing up when you're tired. Discipline is keeping your commitment to yourself even when no one's watching. And discipline is built through small, consistent actions. Not huge, dramatic changes. Not complete life overhauls. Small, consistent actions that compound over time. Don't underestimate the power of showing up. Just showing up. Even if you're not perfect, even if you're not at your best, just show up. Run for 5 minutes instead of 30. Write for 10 minutes instead of an hour. Meditate for 2 minutes instead of 20. Just show up. Because showing up does 2 things. First, it maintains the habit. It keeps the chain going. And second, it reinforces your identity as someone who keeps commitments to themselves. And that identity is everything. You become like the people you surround yourself with. Show me your 5 closest friends, and I'll show you your future. Are your people challenging you to grow or enabling you to stay the same? Are they asking you about your goals or reinforcing your excuses? Are they celebrating your wins or downplaying your ambitions? This isn't about abandoning your friends. It's about being intentional about who you spend time with and who you let influence you. Find people who believe in the version of you that doesn't exist yet. Find people who are on their own growth journey. Find people who call you forward, not pull you back. And find accountability. Tell someone your goal. Check in regularly. Have someone who will lovingly call you out when you're making excuses. There's a reason that every major transformation program, from AA to Weight Watchers to every business mastermind, includes community and accountability. Because we can't do this alone. We're not meant to. This is the one everyone forgets, and it might be the most important. You're going to mess up. You're going to have setbacks. You're going to skip the gym. You're going to eat the donut. You're going to lose your temper. You're going to fall back into old patterns. The question is, will you use those moments as evidence that you can't change, or as information for how to adjust? Self-compassion says, I'm human. I'm learning. I'm doing my best. And my best looks different on different days. And that's okay. Self-compassion is not letting yourself off the hook. It's not making excuses. It's treating yourself with the same kindness you would treat a good friend who's struggling. Because here's the truth. You can't hate yourself into a version of yourself that you love. You can't shame yourself into growth. You can't brutalize yourself into becoming better. Growth comes from a place of self-respect, not self-loathing. From compassion, not fear. So when you mess up, and you will, talk to yourself like someone you love. Learn the lesson, adjust, and get back on the path.
All right, we're almost at the end, but before we finish, I want to give you a challenge. Not a lifetime commitment, not some overwhelming transformation, just a 30-day experiment. Here's what I want you to do. Step 1, pick one area where there's a gap between who you are and who you want to be. Just one. Maybe it's your health, maybe it's your creativity, maybe it's your relationships, maybe it's your courage, maybe it's your discipline, but just one. Now pick one small daily action that moves you toward closing that gap. Something you can do in 15 to 30 minutes,
Something specific and measurable. Not get healthier. That's too vague. But walk for 20 minutes every day. That's specific. Not be more creative, but write 250 words every morning. That's measurable. For 30 days, no matter what, you do that thing. Track it. Put an X on a calendar. Use an app. Whatever works for you, but track it. Step 4, journal about it. Just a few sentences each day. How did you feel? What did you notice? What was hard? What surprised you? That's it. That's the experiment. And here's what I want you to pay attention to. Not just the external results, though those will come, but the internal shift. How do you feel about yourself? How does your identity start to shift? Because after 30 days of keeping a commitment to yourself, something changes. You start to trust yourself more. You start to see yourself as someone who follows through. You start to believe that you're capable of change. And that belief, that trust in yourself, that's the foundation for everything else. We've covered a lot today. The problem, the philosophy, the path forward. But I want to leave you with one question. One question that I think cuts through all the noise and gets to the heart of everything we've talked about. When you're 80 years old, sitting in a chair, looking back at your life, what will you wish you had done? Not what sounds impressive to other people, not what would make your parents proud, not what society says success looks like. What would make you proud? What risks would you wish you had taken? What truth would you wish you had spoken? What version of yourself would you wish you had become? You know the answer. You've always known the answer. It's that quiet voice inside you that speaks up in the quiet moments. The voice that says, there's more. The voice that dreams bigger. The voice that knows you're capable of more than you're currently doing. The question is, are you going to listen to that voice? Or are you going to let it fade away under the weight of comfort and fear and excuses? The gap between who you are and who you could be? It's not a flaw. It's not evidence that something's wrong with you. It's not proof that you're broken or behind or not enough. It's an invitation to grow, to evolve, to become, to step into the fullness of who you're capable of being. The version of you that's stronger, wiser, more at peace, the one we talked about at the very beginning, they're not in some distant future. They're not waiting for perfect circumstances. They're in the next decision you make, the next moment you choose courage over comfort, the next time you choose growth over safety, the next time you do the thing even though you're scared. You're not broken. You're not behind. You're not too late. You're not too old or too young or too anything. You're exactly where you need to be to start becoming who you are meant to be. So start today, right now. Not tomorrow, not when you think about it, right now. Pause this video, grab a piece of paper, open your notes app, whatever, and write down 3 things. First, the one area where you're going to close the gap. Write it down. Make it real. Second, the one daily action you're committing to for the next 30 days. Be specific. Third, your why. Why does this matter to you? What will becoming this person give you? And then, and this is crucial, share it. Comment below. Tell me what your one thing is. Say it out loud to the universe. Make it public. Create accountability. I read every single comment, and I will be here, cheering you on, believing in you, reminding you that you're capable of this. The gap is there. It's supposed to be there. The only question is, are you going to cross it? I believe you can. I believe you will. Now, you just have to believe it too. So here's what I want you to do. Right now. Not later, not after you think about it. Right now. Pause this video, grab a piece of paper, open your notes app, whatever, and write down 3 things. First, The one area where you're going to close the gap. Write it down. Make it real. Second, the one daily action you're committing to for the next 30 days. Be specific. Third, your why. Why does this matter to you? What will becoming this person give you? And then, and this is crucial, share it. Comment below. Tell me what your one thing is. Say it out loud to the universe. Make it public. Create accountability. I read every single comment, and I will be here, cheering you on, believing in you, reminding you that you're capable of this. The gap is waiting. The bridge is there. All you have to do is take the first step. Thank you for being here. Thank you for investing 40 minutes in yourself. That alone tells me something about who you are. You're someone who's willing to grow, willing to learn, willing to become more. And that's everything. I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to subscribe so you see me again. Now, go close that gap.